Hi, this is Deborah Torres, author of Amish fiction, and I've been sitting here waiting for my tablet to charge to do this video because I wanted to show you the cover of the book that we're going to review today. This is the Tinderbox by Beverly Lewis, and I really love this cover. It's just, there's just so much about it. It's warm and comforting and kind of pulls you in a little bit. But anyway, this is the book we're going to talk about today, the Tinderbox. And I found this book interestingly enough on Amazon. I went to some of the book categories, and sometimes in bestseller categories on Amazon, if you enter in some keywords like best Amish romance or best Amish or Mennonite fiction, you can actually find, and I don't exactly know how to do this, you're going to have to look around a little bit, but on the bestsellers list, using those terms, you can find where sometimes those books are selling for 99 cents or $1.99. Now, there's a lot of books there in the Amish fiction and Amish Mennonite fiction categories that are always on those lists, and those aren't the ones that I necessarily recommend. I haven't read them, so I can't say, but there are some where you'll see some authors' names that you recommend, and they're only sometimes at those prices. And when those are the books that you want to nab, when you see those, to grab them and just put them on your Kindle, and just, if you don't have time to read them right then, they're super cheap, 99 cents, $1.99. This one, the Tinderbox, I got for 99 cents when I saw it on that list. But then I saw today that it's back up again to $7.99, I think, for in ebook. So anyway, just a quick pro tip there. When you are looking for books, sometimes you can find those special ones that go on for special deals for just a short amount of time. But anyway, this story, The Tinderbox, is another story of Beverly Lewis, and this is a story of a girl named Sylvie Miller, and she finds a tinderbox. So she sees it all the time in her father's clockmaking shop. He's a clockmaker in their Amish district, and she always sees this tinderbox on top of the fireplace. And I guess I did a little research and found out that a tinderbox is just a box that's sometimes filled with like flint or kindle or I don't know, other kind of fire making things. That would make sense. So if you have a fireplace, you have a tinderbox, you grab it and you make your fire with those things and you put it back. But that box, I think in the book, it was always locked. But there was one day when Sylvie is dusting or something, and she opens the tinderbox. Now, there's some things in there that she finds that later on she wishes she had never opened the tinderbox. It's a little bit of a Pandora's box in her family. Her father wasn't always Amish. He was English, had just an Englisher background, non-Amish background, and then had come to the Amish community, fell in love with her mother, got married, and had their family. But he saved some things from his English background. And so I'm not going to tell the whole story to you, but what she finds in that tinderbox kind of sort of snowballs into something bigger and shows something bigger about her father. And just some huge things happened as a result. But it's a good story. Just looking through my notes right here. I do love the fact that Beverly Lewis knows so much about the Amish. I'm an author of Amish fiction myself, and a lot of times when I read her books and other people's books too, especially with the Kindle, it's kind of cool because you can write in notes, you can highlight and then hit note. And then I'm finding I'm always like writing things like, oh, this is what they call this, or this is what this area looks like, or here's some good imagery here. She's just a master of that kind of thing. She knows what the area is like. She knows the history behind things, and she weaves story into it. So anyway, I really appreciate that about Beverly Lewis. There are a couple things that I even learned, things about the prayer cap, when they're wearing it, when they're not wearing it. Also Amish baptism for the younger the students, the steps to holy baptism for the youth. She calls them D Yongi in it, which is Pennsylvania Dutch, and I don't know if I said that right, but I thought it was kind of a cute thing. She used it several times throughout the book. D-I-D Yongi, young and I-E on the end. in terms of the younger people who are taking the Amish baptism classes, whom Sylvia is one of those. She also talks about the leadership in the church and the responsibilities they have in the Amish church. So I'm always learning more about the Amish when I read Beverly Lewis's stories. So much better than reading nonfiction sometimes, because sometimes nonfiction goes on and on. Nonfiction is rich, but when you learn through story, for me, sometimes I learn it better. It sticks more in my brain, and I'm able to, use it more in my own stories as we go. I also liked in the story that she brings back the character Ella Mae Zook. If you are fans of Beverly Lewis, you'll remember that Ella Mae Zook was used in her original, my first book that I ever read that was Amish, The Shunning by Beverly Lewis. Ella Mae was there, and I believe she probably shows up in some of her other stories too, but I always loved Ella Mae Zook. She was this old woman who I think she lived in a dotty house with her family, and she always just was so wise. And the thing about her is that she had a relationship with Jesus, where not everyone does, everywhere, but also in the Amish community, not everyone has a relationship with Christ, but Ella Mae always did. And so her counsel was always rich and filled with the gospel, and that's no change here in the Tinderbox. She's there counseling both Sylvia and her mom in crucial times in the story. So love that she brought Ella Mae back in. Always love that Ella Mae is always drinking peppermint tea or meadow tea, cold peppermint tea if it's hot outside, and she's always offering tea to people, and always kind of soothing to the soul, and which is similar to Beverly Lewis's writing. It's sort of soothing to the soul. Her characters read their Bibles. They give godly advice to people. And in fact, I like some things about the story too, is that the advice that people like Ella Mae Zook are giving to the characters that are in having some trouble and turmoil in their lives are things that I can apply to my own life and learn from as well. So I love that too, when an author is like teaching a character something in the story, but then they're also teaching me as a reader. So love that as well. Some things that we can take on for ourselves, like we talked about. There were a few things that I didn't like in the book. Sometimes, and I thought maybe this was just myself, but when I looked at some of the reviews on Goodreads for this book, some other people were saying the same thing. So I guess I'll go ahead and say them. Sometimes just the books are so even that there's not a lot of up and down. So that for me as a reader who's looking for maybe just some burst of excitement or something crazy that happens, probably doesn't always happen, or it didn't happen in this book. More even keel. I mean, there are some things that happen that are like, oh wow, I didn't quite see that coming, but not bursts of action or adventure. So that's just the style of writing. I know some of you like Amish fiction for that reason, just that it's calming and soothing, and brings even calm to your own life. So that's what that is. But anyway, let's see what I have. Oh, this book has a sequel. I didn't know that as I was reading, because Beverly Lewis books lately have just been, the ones that I've read have just been sort of a one book, but this one has a sequel. It's called The Timepiece, which is fitting for, I guess, the dad's clock shop. I am interested to see where she takes this book. At the end of the book, there is kind of a curveball that she throws, and that I didn't see coming, and so that was kind of interesting. I always appreciate it when there's something surprising that happens and makes me just wonder. So she kind of leaves you with that surprise. So that's on there. Kudos to Beverly Lewis for that surprise. I appreciate that. So anyway, that's all that I have right now of the Tinderbox. I am also, hang on, I just put another book. I'm reading a second book right now as I finish that one. This is the next one that I'm reading. It's called The Amish Menorah. This is by Patrick Craig. It's also kind of interesting because it's by Patrick Craig, but also by several other men. They're the men of Amish fiction. Not many men write Amish fiction, but these guys do. So interesting to read about them, a little bit different perspective, a little bit type of writing style in these books. They're short stories, a collection of them. So we'll be reviewing those coming up. But anyway, my name is Deborah Torres. I'm an author of Amish fiction. My book, The Forbidden Gift, is coming out in May. So I'll be talking about that more and more in these reviews as well. But if you haven't subscribed to my channel, please do. These are great reviews, and that way you get notifications whenever I get a new one out. And also, I have a free cookbook for you. You'll see in the notes below. If you subscribe to that, you'll get a free cookbook straight to your inbox with some incredible, yummy Amish recipes in there as well. Okay, well, thanks for watching, and we'll see you on the next Amish book review.